Hey, it's Dave here, and welcome to the new video here on irritable bowel syndrome. We're going to talk about food in this video and how different types of foods can impact the digestive system and give the impression that you have irritable bowel syndrome when in actual fact you might just be eating something that's not agreeing with you. So if we want to find out why the bowel is irritable, it's wise to look at all the factors that might irritate it, and food is one of the big ones. Now, it should be a relatively easy topic to cover, and in some ways it is, but in other ways it can become quite complex because food is very individual in the sense that the foods that may upset my digestive system would not necessarily upset your digestive system. And so you could have 100 people with IBS who all have a different pattern in terms of the types of foods that they do well on and the types of foods that they don't do very well on. And that there are many reasons for that. It could be genetic potentially, it could be due to the type of organisms overgrowing in the digestive system that lead to different reactions to foods. And so it's not easy to pinpoint a given set of foods as causing irritable bowel syndrome. It needs to be addressed in a very individual way. Now, some of the main foods that we've found in our practice over the years contribute to digestive symptoms include gluten. Gluten's a big one. It's a huge buzzword at the moment in the nutrition world. And some people do really badly on gluten. And so that's a good one to start with if you want to remove something. Probably one of the more common reasons why people have digestive symptoms from the perspective of food. Other grains can sometimes cause problems as well, even if they don't contain gluten. And that's because they have other substances in them called lectins. Now, gluten or gliadin within the gluten molecule is actually a lectin. Lectins branch out and go way beyond gluten, but lectins can cause problems as well. Some people really have problems with stimulating immune system responses and inflammation from eating too many lectins. And nuts and seeds also contain lectins. And while a lot of people are pushing nuts and seeds as being healthy, we actually find in many cases that avoiding nuts and seeds and the oils from nuts and seeds, so all the vegetable oils that are sold as health-giving foods in the supermarkets, we typically find that people do quite well when they avoid those oils as well. So anything to do with grains, nuts and seeds can be problematic. Another major food group that tends to cause digestive problems in a lot of people is cow's milk. And so that means all cow's milk products, possibly with the exception of butter and ghee. But it can be wise just to say, okay, I'll do 2 weeks off of all the cow's milk products that I've been eating and see if the digestive system settles down. Another one is eggs. Now and again, we see people who have problems with eggs, and you would think, well, how can an egg cause problems? But they do. Now, I've also worked with clients who do really well when they eat the egg white, but they cannot tolerate the egg yolk, right? So sometimes it's not even the whole egg that causes the problem. Sometimes it's just half the egg. Then we move on to some of the more complex stuff. So these are sort of whole foods and things that you can just get rid of from your diet fairly easily. You know, gluten and grains and cow's milk and eggs and things like that. Nuts and seeds, you can avoid all of those and focus on other foods. But it gets a little bit trickier when we start to look at some of these constituent parts of foods. So not the whole food itself, but some of the chemicals that are inside foods. And so oxalates can be problematic. I'm not going to go into detail about what oxalates are on this video, but they're contained in plant-based foods and they can be very irritating to the digestive system and cause problems in the rest of the body as well. Salicylates can also cause problems. Then we have things like histamine and we have tyramine, which tend to be in things like pickled and dried foods, dried meats, processed cured meats, things like that. And then we also have things like sulfites as well, which can be additives in foods, or there can be a lot of sulfur in various foods, particularly things like cruciferous vegetables. All of these things can cause problems. And then finally, we've got FODMAPs. FODMAPs are a particular type of fiber that we find in high quantities in certain foods. And the fibers can be readily fermented by microbes in the digestive system. And when that happens, you get a load of gas and a whole bunch of irritation, inflammation, bloating, etc. in the digestive system. And so, wow, it's a minefield, right? There's an awful lot of stuff to consider there. I actually missed one out that's just popped into my mind, which is soy. And the reason soy is important in my life is that that seems to be the one that causes me the most problems. So I don't do too badly on any of this stuff here. But when I eat soy, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter whether it's soy protein in a powder that I've had in the past, it doesn't matter whether it's tofu, it doesn't matter whether it's soy milk or anything like that, I just get digestive problems very rapidly from eating soy. So that can be a big one as well. So it's a minefield. What the hell do we do about it? Well, what we've got to do is, first of all, just eliminate the obvious foods. So I would always start in my practice when I'm working with clients, trying to get them on a gluten-free diet, trying to get them off cow's milk, and trying to get them off soy. They're the big three. And by definition, a gluten, cow's milk, and soy-free diet usually means that people end up away from processed foods, because most processed foods contain this stuff, right? So if we get them off gluten, cow's milk, and soy, the amount of processed food going into the digestive system also declines massively, which means less E numbers, additives, preservatives as well. That can sometimes do the trick, right? If that doesn't work, then we might need to get into a little bit more detail looking at some of these other factors as well. And if no dietary change at all seems to bring results, it doesn't matter what people do with the diet, if these symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome don't go away, then we have to look at other causes, and that's usually bad bugs in the digestive system, inadequate amounts of good bugs in the digestive system, stress, emotional issues, things like that, which tend to trigger digestive problems in the absence of any problems with food. So I hope that's been helpful. Tons of different ideas for you to crack on with. Go away and do some research on things like oxalates, FODMAPs, salicylates, histamine. See if they ring true in your case. And I will join you on the next video when we'll actually talk about how low levels of friendly microbes and low levels of digestive juices can also contribute to irritable bowel syndrome. So I will look forward to speaking to you on the next video. And please leave comments, questions, anything you want to leave so that we can answer them for you. Or consider if you want some individual help, book a consultation so that we can have a look at your case in more detail and dig into the main reasons why you might be struggling with some of these irritable bowel syndromes. And I'll catch you soon. Thank you.